The wind wailed like a lost child as it swept through the desolate street. The trees bent forward in prayer, or maybe warning, as the battered family car came to a stop in front of a house no one claimed anymore. Once known as 112 Ocean Avenue, the address had long since been changed to hide the stains of its history. A bureaucratic spell to cast away demons, as if new names could make people forget. But names don't matter to the dead. Not to the kind that scream in the walls. Now it was just Perdition Street, and even the rusted mailbox seemed to sigh. Jessica Jacobson stepped out first. A woman worn down by hardship but still wrapped in an air of careful control. Her chestnut hair fluttered in the breeze, but her eyes, sharp and tired, were fixed on the looming two-story house before her. Behind her, Todd, her husband, slammed the car door harder than necessary. A man constantly tense, like a fuse always sparking but never quite lit. He checked his phone for signal, none. Typical. Hailey, their teenage daughter, emerged with her hoodie pulled over her head, earbuds in place, blasting metal music loud enough to deafen reason. She took one look at the house and said dryly, "Already haunted." Jessica shot her a look, but there was no bite in it. Just exhaustion. The house stood waiting. Once white, its paint had grayed into something resembling ash. The shutters hung like broken wings. The porch groaned under its own weight. Vines crept along its bones like veins pumped full of secrets. Jessica glanced up at the attic window. There, just for a second, a pale face. Gone. She blinked. Was it a trick of the light? Her pulse quickened. "Let's get inside," Todd muttered. "Storm's coming." Inside, the house breathed. Not metaphorically. Not atmospherically. It breathed. When Jessica opened the door, a rush of air blew past her. Warm. Musty. Like breath from a throat that hadn't exhaled in years. The wooden floor creaked, not under weight, but in anticipation. They stepped in. The moment the door closed behind them, the light dimmed, subtly, unnaturally. Dust floated in sunbeams like floating skin. Jessica ran her hand along the nearest wall. The wallpaper was peeling, soft and damp like wet tissue. She pulled back a flap and saw something underneath. Something etched, a symbol, burned into the wood. She covered it quickly, pretending not to notice. Hailey did, though. And the symbol was already branded into her memory. The kitchen was a graveyard of old appliances. The stove groaned when touched. The faucet wheezed. Jessica tried running the water, and for a brief moment it came out black, thick and sluggish, like tar, before clearing to brownish rust. "Great," she whispered. Todd wandered off to inspect the basement. He had been promised the place was livable, and he was already preparing himself for a list of things to fix. Behind a door that whined on its hinges, the stairs creaked downward into darkness. He clicked on his flashlight. There was movement down there. He paused. Listened. A thump. Soft, but rhythmic. A dragging sound. Then silence. He backed away, forcing a laugh. Probably rats. But in the dark, something smiled. Upstairs, Jessica explored the bedrooms. 3 in total. 1 for her and Todd. 1 for Hailey. And the 3rd, locked. She tried the knob. It wouldn't budge. Then a cold breeze brushed her neck. She turned sharply. No one. But the doorknob was now unlocked. It clicked open slowly. The room beyond was immaculate. Dustless. Free of cobwebs. As though someone had been living in it, recently. A rocking chair creaked in the corner, moving gently on its own. On the floor beside it, an old rag doll, porcelain-faced, with a split down one cheek. Jessica stepped back and closed the door. Hard. She never told anyone about it. Hailey climbed the stairs to the attic, curious. She liked high places. They felt safe, above the chaos. Detached from the world. She pushed open the attic door. The air was thicker here. Heavy with something not quite dust. The floor was layered in grime, and the windows, 3 of them, were all bolted shut from the inside. In the far corner sat an old chest, covered in cobwebs. She approached, kicked it once. It thudded solidly. She crouched and opened it. Inside, photographs. Old ones. People she didn't know, staring straight at the camera. Unsmiling. Standing in this very house. Behind them, in every photo, a figure. Black. Faceless. Repeating. Watching. And then, buried beneath the photographs, she found a journal. The name written in faded ink. Lillian Jacobson. 1949. Same last name. Same house. She flipped to the first page. They watch me in the walls. They whisper through the vents. There is something buried beneath the floorboards. And it feeds on blood. She froze. Her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Welcome home, Hailey, smiley face. She dropped the phone. Downstairs, Jessica found a picture frame in the hallway, an old family photo, water-damaged and yellowing. She touched it absently, then realized something unsettling. The mother in the picture looked exactly like her. Same jawline. Same eyes. Even the same birthmark behind the ear. That night, she dreamed of fire. A little girl screaming. A woman holding her down. And a voice, shrill and serpentine. Blood binds the walls, Jessica. Yours is next. She woke drenched in sweat. Outside, the mailbox clanged. The wind howled. And somewhere deep inside the attic, the rocking chair moved again. The sun rose over Perdition Street without warmth. It cast light, but not comfort. The house remained cloaked in a soft gray mist, as if it resented the day. Inside, the Jacobsons were waking up, but the house had never gone to sleep. Jessica stepped out into the hallway, rubbing her temples. Her dreams had been thick with screaming. Faces pressed against glass. A child's eyes staring up at her from under the floorboards. Todd was already downstairs, sipping cold coffee and grumbling about the busted furnace. "Place needs a damn exorcist," he muttered, more to himself than anyone. Hailey came down late. Pale. Silent. Her eyes distant. "Rough night?" Jessica asked, trying to sound casual. Hailey didn't answer. Instead, she turned and stared at the hallway. At the door. The one that had been locked yesterday. Jessica followed her gaze. The door stood slightly ajar. But she had closed it. She remembered slamming it shut. She remembered the satisfying click of the latch. Now, it stood open. Inviting. The dark within looked thicker than shadow, like ink. Todd walked past them both and paused. That door wasn't open before. Jessica shook her head slowly. No. It wasn't. They pushed it open. Inside was the same pristine room Jessica had seen before, but something had changed. On the rocking chair sat the porcelain doll. Intact. Its cracked cheek now flawless. Its mouth sewn shut with fine red thread. Its eyes glassy and wide, as if caught in a scream that never came. Jessica felt her breath catch. Todd approached the doll, picked it up, then snorted. "It's just a toy." Hailey didn't move. She was staring at the walls. Etched into the wallpaper, faint but clear, were claw marks. Long, deep. Ripping through layers of paint and plaster. "Don't touch anything," Jessica whispered. Todd ignored her and tossed the doll back onto the chair. It landed upright. Unmoved. As if it had never been thrown. That night, Jessica tried to sleep. The bed creaked every time she shifted. The air felt thick and unmoving. Then she heard it, whispering. At first it sounded like wine through a crack. Then words. Muffled. From the vent above the bed. She climbed onto a chair and leaned in. The metal grill vibrated under her touch. "Jessica, mother, mother." She recoiled. Something small and pale moved just out of view, behind the vent slats. She screamed. Todd sat up, annoyed. "What now?"